Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and today we'll be discussing Dune, politics, houses, sandworms, Bene Gesserit, and other burning questions. Frank Herbert's Dune is a unique sci-fi saga that doesn't create an obnoxiously mainstream futuristic world, complete with androids, big guns, and grotesque or powerful aliens. Rather, the book tends to focus on a universe that is set in an extremely futuristic timeline, but also has social problems like treachery, deceit, power struggle that are relatable and evergreen. Herbert inherently tried to deal with the human psyche and the motivation behind why people do the things that they do. However, the Dune universe is extremely dense, or shall we say rich. It contains within itself a plethora of intricate details surrounding the political structure of the universe 20,000 years from today, the various houses, the power struggle to control the planet of Arrakis, or Dune. Adding to these are things like the involvement of external forces, such as the mysterious and mystical matriarchal order of Bene Gesserit, the native people of Arrakis called the Fremen, and a prophecy according to which a Kwisatz Haderach would lift the Fremen from their woes and lead them to prosperity and well-being. When director David Lynch attempted to adapt the film back in 1984, he made the grave mistake of summarizing Herbert's 800-page novel in one single movie. But with such dense lore comes the equally challenging task of deciding what to adapt and what to ignore. Although Lynch's film is considered a cult classic, it was criticized for being too complex. But when Denis Villeneuve took the reins of the Dune reboot, he convinced the studio that the film had to be made in two parts, to keep the essence of Herbert's work intact. However, even though prolific screenwriters like Jon Spaihts, Denis Villeneuve, and Roth wrote the film, well, there was only so much that they could show in the film. Naturally, there are several unanswered questions and unexplained concepts in the film that some viewers may find confusing, and rightfully so. Therefore, in this video, we will break down 6 such questions and topics so that Dune becomes a much more enjoyable experience for you. Quick heads up though, this video is going to give some major but exciting spoilers for Villeneuve's Dune, so watch at your own risk. Before we get into today's explanation though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, let's begin, shall we? What are the major factions and houses that appear in Dune? Understanding Dune's political setup might be a bit problematic for a first-time viewer, or someone who's not acquainted with the lore. Nevertheless, Marvelous Videos exists to break down such complex subjects into comprehensible and interesting pieces. Firstly, the power is divided into 3 major houses, in a federal structure of governance. The seat of power rests in the planet of Katayn, that's ruled by House Carino. The Emperor of the Universe, Padishah Emperor Shaddam Carino IV, belongs to this house. The other 2 houses belong to the Atreides and the Harkonnens, who live on planets Caladan and Gedi Prime, respectively. While Caladan is a prosperous and beautiful planet with lush greenery, Gedi Prime is a heavily industrial and dystopian planet that Baron Vladimir Harkonnen rules with an iron fist. However, the Emperor may grant the lordship of more planets to whoever he chooses. For instance, Emperor Shaddam IV gave Harkonnens the fiefdom or Siridar rights to rule over the desert planet of Arrakis and oversee the spice trade. But when the Emperor saw it fit, he gave those rights to the House Atreides. Much like in Game of Thrones, the Emperor has an imperial army called the Sardaukar under his command. These men are known to be the most proficient and prolific fighters in the entire universe, and they have never faced defeat. So, the setup can be compared to that of Game of Thrones, in which the king ruled 7 great kingdoms, from King's Landing. And just like that epic TV show, all of the major houses often attempt to subjugate other houses by employing various righteous or treacherous means. In a few cases, some may even try to usurp the Imperium itself. The council of all the leaders of the major houses of the Dune universe is called the Landsraad. But 3 more important factions indirectly dictate the political structure. These are the Fremen, the Spacing Guild, and the Bene Gesserit. We know that the desert planet of Arrakis is the only place where spice melange can be found. It is the most profitable substance in the universe because it not only enhances the physical and mental capabilities of a human, but also allows the Spacing Guild to find interstellar pathways using the orange spice gas. Since there are no computers, the Spacing Guild and the Guild Navigators have raised considerably in importance. Fremen, on the other hand, see the mining of spice melange as an intrusion in their home planet and seek to repel the foreign forces. Among all of this, there's another crucial faction of the Bene Gesserit. This is a matriarchal order that has been serving its own agenda for thousands of years. Although the Bene Gesserit may seem to side with one powerful house or another, they essentially serve their own purpose, bringing into the world a man who would be called the Kwisatz Haderach. For this purpose, the Bene Gesserit spent thousands of years crafting an intricate breeding program to ensure the birth of the Kwisatz Haderach, a super being with the power to look into the past as well as the future. He would be a man free from all the various powers of the Bene Gesserit, and would lead the world into an enlightened path, called the Golden Path, else humanity itself would perish.
I never requested your presence.
But your lack of action demanded.
Why did the Emperor support House Harkonnen and plot against House Atreides? This question must have popped in the mind of anyone who paid even a little attention while watching the film. I mean, we could all see that Duke Leto Atreides of House Atreides was the good guy and a just ruler. So why would the Emperor try to help a man like Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who ruled with an iron fist and made his empire by using treachery, deceit, and instilling fear among his subjects? Well, the short answer is that Duke Leto's boon became his bane. And here comes the long answer. His ways and methods of governance were gaining popularity not only among his own subjects, but also in other worlds. Despite ruling the universe, the Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV's popularity grew weaker by the day. Naturally, he felt the need to eliminate House Atreides, so there would be no resistance. So he plotted with House Harkonnen and took the Sirdar, or governance rights of Arrakis, from the Harkonnens and gave it to House Atreides. Now, House Atreides was a proud and noble house, and would never shy away from following an imperial command. This way, the Emperor managed to get the Atreides royal family out in the open, on Arrakis, and upon seizing the right opportunity, the Harkonnens launched a surprise attack in the middle of the night. One may wonder if the Emperor thought that the Harkonnens posed no threat to the imperial authority. Well, yes, House Harkonnen did pose a threat to the Emperor's House Corrine, because the Harkonnens were just as rich as them in terms of wealth, courtesy of the spice trade. However, the Harkonnens were a hated family, and no other major house would rally behind them to overthrow the Emperor. But on the other hand, the Atreides enjoyed the luxury of respect from other houses, which was a greater threat to the Emperor's throne than the Harkonnens themselves. Although the film is set around 20,000 years into the future, why don't we see any computers? Well, isn't it strange for a film that's so much further into the future not to have any computers at all? There's a reason for this anomaly that's been explained in the novel. So, although the story is set 20,000 years into the future, sometime around 10,000 years before that, there was a massive war called the Butlerian Jihad, which was fought between high-level intelligent machines and humans. Several millennia of technological advancements had given the machines, such as robots and computers, the opportunity to change the socio-political setup. But then, humans started to purge all machines that could think like humans, and they adopted a biblical commandment of sorts that reads as follows: "Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind." You see, even the simplest machines, such as calculators, were destroyed and banned from human production, and anyone who made them again would be subjected to penalties such as death or life imprisonment. But such a massive purge led to other problems, such as computing, etc. I mean, imagine for a moment that tomorrow the world governments decided to ban all forms of cell phones and computers. Wouldn't the world fall into chaos and repression? So, in order to counter this, humans were subjected to intensive training through which they would heighten their mental state to process complex logical computations easily. These experts would later be called the Mentats. Can a 400-meter-long sandworm be ridden? At about 2 minutes and 47 seconds in the official main trailer of Dune, we see Sharon Duncan Brewster's character of Vliet Keynes holding 2 hooks. In the movie, she was actually waiting for a sandworm that she had summoned using a thumper, which is a device that produces rhythmic vibrations, which in turn attract the gargantuan sandworm. Now, she doesn't really ride the sandworm in the film, but even if that is possible, how would she possibly do it? A sandworm's outer skin is orange in color, and thick and rough in texture. However, the skin is made up of thousands of tough and hardened scales. each a few square feet in area. These scales protect the beast from internal sand invasion and other hostile events. Over the period of time, the Fremen discovered a way to compromise a sandworm's hard and scaly outer skin. This was achieved by prying open an edge and allowing sand to get into the softer insides of the sandworm, which causes intense levels of irritation to the sandworm. Although the sandworm's outer body is as hard as anything, its interiors are relatively soft and prone to irritation. So, even small amounts of sand in its body may lead to excruciating levels of pain. In order to keep more sand from entering its body through the exposed surface, the sandworms roll over, so that the exposed surface remains at the top and high up from the ground. Furthermore, it doesn't dive into the sand in this condition, hence making it possible for the Fremen to ride the giant worm. Interestingly enough, the Fremen sometimes use worm riding as a coming-of-age ritual, but worm riding is usually an essential mode of transport for them when they have to travel from one siege to another, by using the hooks to make the sandworm turn in the desired direction.
Not sorry enough.
Would Weapon Master Gurney Halleck, Duke Leto's Mentat, Thufir Hawat, and Swordmaster Duncan Idaho return? While the fates of Josh Brolin as Gurney Halleck and Stephen McKinley Henderson as Thufir Hawat were left uncertain, Jason Momoa's character of Duncan Idaho was definitely killed. Since Gurney and Thufir were not dealt with after the attack of the House Atreides, it is possible that they might come back in the next installment. According to the novel, after a quick defeat of a great house like House Harkonnen, he became disillusioned and started to believe that it was the Bene Gesserit and Lady Jessica behind the conspiracy. He would go on to become a smuggler on Arrakis, but would be later found by the Fremen, who were by now under the command of their religious leader, Paul Muad'Dib. Upon finding Lady Jessica along with the Fremen, he launched an attack on her with the intent of killing her, but Paul managed to stop him and revealed the Harkonnen conspiracy to him. This incident made Gurney feel ashamed at his misjudgment, and he would go on to dedicate himself forevermore to the Atreides cause. So, even if Josh Brolin came back in the second installment, he would be the cause of some major strife to Rebecca Ferguson before acting like a good guy. And as far as Duncan Idaho is concerned, the novels have shown that he has come back to life even after death in the form of a Ghola. Now, a Ghola is the Dune version of a clone. They bear the physical and mental states of the person from whose DNA they were created, so much so that they even retain the host's genetic memory. In the expanded Dune universe, developed by Brian Herbert among others, Duncan turns out to be the last Kwisatz Haderach, who would go on to lead humanity to live in a peaceful relationship with cognitive and thinking machines.
The prophecy. One will come.
What exactly was the role of Bene Gesserit in carving out a path for Paul and Lady Jessica in the Fremen society? In the film, when Paul Atreides lands on Arrakis with his parents, the Fremen hail him as Lizan al-Gaib, which is the Fremen version of a messiah, or the voice from the outer world. It is actually a combination of the two Arabic terms meaning tongue and unseen. When Paul asks his mother what it meant and why they were saying it, she simply says, "What Lady Jessica is referring to is actually a wing of Bene Gesserit called Missionaria Protectiva that lives to sow seeds of superstitions and prophecies among people of various planets to fulfill their own personal agenda and further their plans of getting the Kwisatz Haderach." So it was the Bene Gesserit who planted the idea into the minds of the Fremen that a Messiah would come and would allay the troubles of the Fremen and also convert the desert planet of Arrakis into a golden planet, but also ensuring that a few parts of the planet remain deserts so that the sandworms could continue to thrive, because spice melange cannot be produced without the sandworms. Hopefully, we were able to clear things up a little bit for you. If not, leave a message in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to send a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe, and thanks for watching.